They're going to stick with what they have. They're counting on bounce backs from Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson. They believe Lars Nootbaar's for real, which I tend to believe as well. And I do think the possibility of a bounce back is not crazy, given what Tyler O'Neill's working on all winter, and given the fact that Dylan Carlson did have a legitimate excuse for his drop off. You know, when you have hand injuries and you're trying to swing a bat, good luck, you know. So I give him the benefit of the doubt, but that's only going to go so far in 2023. So there's really nothing to add about that, and that's been my opinion for quite a while now, other than, maybe they'll go cast the net for a left-handed bat, someone who's not an expensive left-handed bat, unless somebody like Michael Conforto does not have much of a market, and he would say drop to the Cardinals level. I don't know. It's hard to deal with hypotheticals when they pretty much have their 3 starters picked out. They have Jordan Walker on the cusp of being in the major leagues. And if he's here all season, keep this in mind. I'm going to ask Derek Gould about this too. Keep this in mind under the new collective bargaining agreement. If Jordan Walker is here for the entire regular season, in other words, at no point does he get sent down to Memphis unless, I hope not, it be some kind of injury rehab assignment. That doesn't count. The Cardinals will pick up a draft pick, and they love draft picks, and they just gave up a draft pick when they signed Contreras. So they have actual motivation. If this kid looks like he's ready in spring training, they have actual motivation to put him on the opening day roster and keep him there. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, let's go to another area. She talked about the Contreras will catch the overwhelming majority of Cardinals games this season, and he won't. Unlike the Cubs, he won't be used too often as a designated hitter. And I think that that's an important distinction, and I'm glad she mentioned that. The one thing that I don't get is that there's very little talk, and there's no talk, I don't believe, in this piece about they should try to upgrade their number 2 catcher. Because if Contreras has a day off or he does play DH, you're just going to need more than what you've been getting out of your backup catcher. However, for now, Katie Wu reaffirmed, again, something that I believe that we all buy into, and we've said it ourselves, that Contreras is determined. It's a pride thing with him. He's going to catch as much as the Cardinals want him to, and he's going to work really hard to improve a couple things that he's already been improving. So that all checks out with me. By the way, I feel silly because I'm not really grading what she's saying. I don't mean it that way. Starting pitching, and this is a biggie. She writes that Mozeliak stated multiple times over the last couple months the Cardinals have 6 starters with the assumption that Dakota Hudson would be a swingman. Wainwright, Miklasz, Flaherty, Montgomery, Steven Matz. Only Matz is guaranteed a contract in 2024. Flaherty and Montgomery will be eligible for free agency for the first time in their careers after next season. Miles Michaelis will be a free agent after next season. So she's talking about how the rotation could certainly be improved, taking into consideration they got to shore up their depth for 2024 and beyond. She says that St. Louis has plenty of swingmen options outside of Hudson. Zach Thompson, Andre Palante. She mentions Jake Woodford. She mentions Drew Verhagen and Matthew Liberatore. So, and this is where I kind of get off the bus. No disrespect to Katie, because this is a pretty prevailing view that, they have depth, They have guys that are swingmen. Hey, Liberatore. Hey, these Woodford. You mean the guy that they wouldn't use as a starter like the last 2 years? Him? Verhagen, who couldn't stay healthy. I think Zach Thompson could be a starter. Andre Palante, who started to tire out as a starter, and they move him back to the bullpen. See, I push back on this whole notion that they have enough. I just won't let them, meaning the Cardinals, just kind of sell this angle without saying, get it out of here. You don't have enough. And even if these guys all stay healthy, does this sound like the kind of rotation that's going to pitch you through a postseason and mow hitters down? No, it isn't. So knock it off, okay? Now, she makes a really good point here. She says in terms of fortifying a rotation instead of having to scramble to patch it, she says they could use some outside help. Though they were hopeful, multiple people within the organization were hopeful that lefty free agent Jose Quintana would return to St. Louis after playing such a pivotal role in the second half turnaround. The Mets had other plans, swooping in and inking the two-year $26 million deal. Now, again, this is no disrespect to Katie. This is where I get off the bus. I don't understand this logic that seems to be accepted across the board here in our town. If you know you need a start, you're going to need starters after 2023. You're only going to have one guy under contract who's really a full-time starting pitcher. That'd be Steven Matz. And you love Jose Quintana, and you could have signed him to a 2-year deal, about 24, 25, 26 million, where he serves you this year and he'll serve you next year. I'm sorry, it's a $26 million deal for 2 years. It's not 260, okay? So why is that just kind of written off like, oh, well, the Mets gave him this? Does that make sense to anybody? Like that's to be just kind of like, well, the Mets came in and, yeah. They didn't sign him to a Jacob deGrom contract. So what's the problem here if you like the guy? You started him in game 1 of the playoff series and he was great. Well, the Mets gave him 2 years and $26 million. Does that make any sense to anybody?
No, it doesn't. And I don't know. You can't even use the excuse, well, we don't want to block any of our prospects, because none of your prospects have that potential right now.
They're not quite ready. Maybe a year from now. Nathan Eovaldi's widely considered the next best arm, Katie writes, though with the way the market is valued pitching this offseason, he too will come at a significant price. And I agree with that. She writes that Mozeliak did not rule out the possibility of adding another arm, but a lower-cost swingman veteran with reliable starting experience is the probable prototype. Noah Syndergaard's drawn a lot of interest.
He just signed, by the way. Within the last couple minutes, a 1-year deal with the Dodgers, but no one has got any money on this yet.
So there he is, and obviously the Cardinals weren't involved there. Jordan Lyles, no thank you. Michael Wacha, that intrigues me because he's changed his pitching style. I'm a little surprised he has not signed with someone so far. I would entertain that possibility. I have to find out more. But I'm not just saying I would entertain it because he was a Cardinal. That has nothing to do with it. But he had a really good year last year, and I read a piece written in Boston about how he had changed his approach and also kind of the slope that he uses in his delivery to throw the changeup. So I'm interested in more of that. But this idea, well, we'll just go pick up a swingman.
No.
What kind of swingman? What like who we talking about? I mean, it's just easy to say that. What's behind that, though? Where is the kind of the proof of availability and affordability? If they wouldn't bring Quintana back on a reasonable 2-year deal, $26 million in this marketplace, well, when you talk about picking up a swingman, let me tell you what that means. Gersh, go warm it up. Go get the truck warmed up.
Can I go out now?
Yeah, just go get the truck warmed up. Drive them alleys. See what you can find in the dumpster. Maybe somebody put a pitcher out, not in the dumpster, just kind of put him out there in the alley to pick up. Gersh, go get him. That's what that means.
Yes, it does.
The outfield we talked about, no need to go there. The middle infield, there's an argument to be made the Cardinals have the strongest corner infield in the National League with Goldie and Arenado. It's not an argument. It's a fact. They absolutely do. So we don't worry about that. 3 of the 4 major shortstops on the market have signed. This is true. So you got Dansby Swanson. He will also, she writes, Katie Wu, an immense deal, one the Cardinals won't pursue. I agree with that as well. Mozeliak has constantly reiterated that Tommy Edman is, quote, a very good shortstop and would be the club starter come spring. St. Louis once again has an abundance of middle infielders and will likely deploy second base via committee, similar to how it was filled last year. Talking about Donovan, talking about Gorman, I agree. Then we get to Paulie. There's only one Paulie now in St. Louis, Paulie DeYoung. He's owed $9 million in 23, final guaranteed year, and Mozeliak indicated that he will have plenty of opportunity in spring to prove he can be reliable. So do they really have they really have a surplus at middle infield? Really? If you're counting Paulie in there, I guess. But I'm going to go back to what I said last fall. You know, people hollering and screaming because they got eliminated in 2 games by the Phillies. I get it. And, oh, by the way, if Pujols, Goldie, and Arenado don't hit in those 2 games, I think they had 1 or 2 hits between them, but they didn't do anything. You're not going to score runs. I hate to break it to you, okay? And that, believe it or not, that's not Mo's fault. You know, because that's the expectation. You're getting 3 great years out of those guys. If their bats go totally dead or just about dead, in a 2-game, you got to win now, get it done now. You don't have much time. If that doesn't happen and your big guys go flat, your butt's going to the offseason. So that's kind of the way it works. However, here's where it is Mo's fault. If you're really trying to win, how do you convince your public, the skeptical public, that you're really trying to win and you're putting your best team on the field when you have Paul DeYoung and the great Ben DeLuzio on your postseason roster for that Philly series? Credibility gone,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Right?
The one more thought, your middle infield thing, they don't, if it's Paulie, okay, but the reality is they don't have anybody else that could play shortstop. That at least for me, I would go, oh, okay, I'm good with that. Because somebody's got to play, because as we have seen, as much as I love Tommy Edman, you got to give him days off, otherwise he wears down and he goes.
That's so right.
And if
correct.
If you don't have that guy, especially at that position at shortstop, that can spare him, I don't know, 25, 30 games at least, I think you're going to have a problem there.
And that's why you very much can see Paulie on this team and being, in effect, the number 2 shortstop. Because he plays good defense. I'm not going to be so petty to deny that. Some people do that, and I don't understand it. I mean, we know the guy can't hit, and he's kind of a drag on the morale because of that, because he looks so sad, you know. But he can field. He's good. But that also doesn't justify $9 million, and you're also taking up a roster spot that could be better used. So one other thing on that, and I haven't pointed this out, and this is such an obvious thing that I shouldn't overlook. Mo has framed this as like, hey, but, you know, when Paulie comes to spring training, you know, he knows that he's going to have to show us something, you know, along those lines. You know, he knows that things have to change. And we're going to, you know, try rebuild his swing, but when he gets to spring training, we start playing games. You know, we have to see something. Really? So you're going to base the decision on what he does against washed-up journeyman pitchers and kids that are still probably 2 years away from even being anywhere near a major league ballpark. So if Paulie gets on a tear against sub-major league pitchers, guys who will either be out of baseball or are just not, they're fringy, or they're too young to be considered major league ready. So if he hits 309 and, you know, hits 4 or 5 home runs in spring, that settles it. Now, is he going to see those guys like when the Milwaukee Brewers come in for a series? Is he going to be facing them kind of pitchers? How about playing the Mets? He going to be facing those kind of pitchers? I could name every team in the league. The answer is no, he's not. He's going to be going against the same major league pitchers that for 2 years in a row have just absolutely crushed them. So they're setting this up. So, it's going to be easy for them to spin their tale. Well, Paulie, really, look, man, we're really impressed by him, what he did this spring. And we feel really good about him going into the regular season. Is this like the most predictable damn thing ever?
Oh, yes.
Right?
I can hear it now. His hard hit rate is very good. Even though he's not getting results, he's really hitting the ball hard. Okay. All right.
Oh, boy. So, yeah. So, by the way, and again, I don't want this to sound like I'm being critical of Katie Woo. I do disagree with some of her premises. That's baseball talk. That's all that is.
Oh, yeah.
But even my good friend Derek Gould, I disagree with some of his premises, and that's okay. That's one of the great things about baseball, talking about it, maybe having a good debate about it, or just disagreeing about it. That's part of the entertainment, right? So, but anyway, reading through this, unfortunately, my takeaway is that, well, they don't have anything big planned, that's for sure. They don't have anything planned that would really make a difference in an impactful way. So I hope they're not done, but we'll have to wait and see. We don't know yet. They surprised us with Arenado. They surprised us a little bit with Goldschmidt. They've come through with surprises in the past. And by the way, that doesn't mean I expect it, because I don't at all. But who knows when they have another surprise plan that they're going to pop? I don't know. It's a really weird organization. It's just a weird place right now. Not a bad place, but just kind of weird. Just get more eccentric by the year.
Yeah, it's a lot of truth in that.
And I'm eccentric, so that's not necessarily an insult.
I just, when you brought up the middle infield, as I thought it through, I go, well, Paulie's on the roster just by showing up. They can tell me all they want to see, because they don't have another shortstop that can play right now on that group. I don't know about this kid Fermin they picked up from Cleveland, who's a middle infielder. I don't even know if he's major league worthy, but that's the only other guy I think that could possibly play shortstop if he needed for a while. They don't have that guy in this organization. Paulie just shows up. Even if he's still hitting 110, he's still on the roster.
Hey, did you see Paulie take that pitch the other way? See, he's starting to fix it. We're really encouraged.
I saw it, but it went foul. Then he struck out on the next one in the dirt again.
Oh man. So, I think the one thing, and I've obviously already talked about it, but the one thing that, because I sort of have a bug about this anyway, but this whole notion, it's like, oh, they really were interested in Jose Quintana. It was such a great fit, really helped him in the second half, really were interested in bringing him back. But the Mets signed him to a 2-year deal worth $26 million. Wow. I mean, wow. I'm either hollering in the aftermath of stuff like that, or I'm left speechless by it, because it's incomprehensible, and somehow that is widely accepted. I was reading an online thing today, and the Arthur, which is my word for author, that's a Texas thing. The Arthur was saying that, I don't understand, why people were, wanted to bring Quintana back, and I don't see a good reason for it. And then the Arthur proceeded to list all of these starters that aren't proven in the big leagues, and if they've pitched in the big leagues, they've gotten spanked, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a reason why people think it might be a good idea to bring Quintana back, really. Did I read wrong? Did the Cardinals sign Verlander? Did they even sign Ross Stripling? I must have missed that, I don't know why these other media people talk about Quintana. Why do they need Quintana? He was your best pitcher down the stretch. He started game 1 of the playoffs, and he held a dangerous lineup scoreless for 5 innings. And he could have gone longer. And in fact, if he had gone another inning, it might have averted the disaster that followed. Maybe that's why.